Welcome to my fall kitchen. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that the temperatures are dropping and the leaves are turning. Today, I'll be making some of my favorite fall treats, my favorite pumpkin spice latte syrup, some pumpkin muffins to share, and I'm going to put on a simmer pot just to embrace all things fall today. Fall is one of my favorite seasons to be in the kitchen, maybe my absolute favorite, because it's exciting to be inside, to put on a delicious pot of soup that'll simmer all day. I feel like the house smells so good whenever it's fall, whether that's a loaf of bread baking or something simmering. I think fall and winter dishes tend to embrace the cooking low and slow, and there's something really beautiful about that to me. So first, I'm just making a loaf of bread that I had fermenting in my fridge, and I did accidentally let this over ferment, but that's the beauty of sourdough. When you bake it, it might be ugly, but it's still delicious. And an ugly loaf of bread is perfect for dipping into soup. So now I'm getting started on my pumpkin spice latte syrup, and I'll link the recipe that I used in the description, but I'm simmering some brown sugar. I ran out of brown sugar, so I just made some by mixing together sugar and molasses. And then I added some water, as well as some pumpkin puree and some pumpkin pie spice, and then I let that simmer for about 10 minutes. I was listening to a podcast recently, and the host was talking about hyper-individualism and how there are really powerful forces in large corporations at work who are directly benefiting from the hyper-individualism in our culture. So instead of sharing belongings between a family or a group that you belong to, a hyper-individualistic society would say each person needs to have everything that they individually need. And I think that in the context of motherhood, this is especially true for moms. There are so many helpful gadgets out there specifically meant for maybe the first 3 months of life for the baby or a season, but babies grow so fast. So for example, just taking something like a bassinet. If you're using a bassinet, you'll use it for a few months and then it'll go into storage. But the idea of sharing one in a group of friends or family members is, one, so much more cost efficient. But I think there's something really beautiful about sharing something like that. And it's not like you just give the bassinet away. You're sharing it in this group, and once you have need of it again, it's back in your possession. So not only is there a relational cost to hyper-individualism that I feel like a lot of people are aware of, how lonely our society is, but also I think there's a financial cost as well. So with this concept in mind, I've been trying to get to know my neighbors a little bit more, which has been such a joy. It's so strange to me that the norm, at least where I live, is that you might live alongside a lot of people, but you don't really know them. You might know what they look like or maybe their names, but it takes a lot to be able to stop and chat and get to know your neighbors. So I wanted to put together a little care package for a new neighbor who had just moved in. So I'm going to bottle up some of this pumpkin spice latte syrup, as well as one of these pumpkin muffins that I'm going to make. The syrup was really fun to make. I simmered stuff and then I let it seep out of a cheesecloth, and then I added sweetened condensed milk to it and got that all loosened up together. And now it's ready to be enjoyed in my latte. And I have been loving this recipe. And you'll see I have a simmer pot going. I save my apple cores and in a freezer bag. So I have a bag in the freezer, and whenever I'm done with an apple, I'll just put it in that freezer bag. And once it's full, or once I'm in for the day and wanting it to smell nice, I get out that bag and typically I add half an orange, but I didn't have an orange, so I added half a lemon and a cinnamon stick and some cloves. And this just makes the house smell so good. It's completely unnecessary, but if you're going to throw away your apple cores, you might as well save them and make a simmer pot one of these days. This is probably one of my favorite corners in my house. This is where I get to mill my flour and make my coffee. And those are two of my favorite things to do. So when I made the syrup, I didn't want to waste anything that was left in the cheesecloth. So I decided to put it in these pumpkin muffins, because really all it was condensed pumpkin pie spice and pumpkin puree. So I just added that to my muffins. I had just milled some flour to make them, and I will link the recipe that I used down below, and added what was left behind in the cheesecloth and followed the rest of the recipe like normal. I might have added a little bit more flour to compensate for the extra ingredient. These turned out moist and delicious. That's what I love about pumpkin baked goods. They're never dry, and they're always so flavorful and comforting. We have some friends who had a kid before we did, and then when we got pregnant, they had the idea to share some of these items, like a bassinet or a stroller. It's been such a blessing and cool to feel like instead of needing to buy everything myself or do everything myself, I have this sense of group belonging, and I know that there's a network of support for me that I've been really encouraged by. So I want to be that network of support for other people as well, not just moms, although we know we need it, but also my friends and my neighbors, the people who I'm living alongside. Because when we have each other, we don't need as much stuff.